So I think I had said it in one of my recent videos that I was going to start paying attention to places like Canada because, I mean, they're our neighbors, so why not? And I've been on a deep dive. I've been researching. And it's some very interesting stuff. When I used to say Canada and the U.S. are going through similar problems, I used to say it based off the very little information that I had and knew. Now that I've been like deep diving into it, been really looking into it, oh no, it is for sure a fact. They have the same problems that we have, probably even worse. Because when I was going over, basically like looking through what's going on with the economy, what's going on with their immigration, everything like that, and then in recent videos, I might just chop up a whole bunch of videos and just go from there when it comes to Canada. They just released their budget, or what would be their proposed budget plan for 2025. The prime minister over there, and yeah, interesting stuff. It's funny how it mirrors so much of what's going on in the United States. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I think that speaks to something bigger. What that is, I'm not entirely too sure yet. I'll get back to you on that one. But before we jump too deep into this, and I'll go over it in other videos as well, Canada right now is going through a shift. And the reason they're going through a shift is because of what we're doing right here in the US. Countries like Canada have been so dependent on the US when it comes to selling their products and for industry that now that the US is saying, hey, look, we're not going to go in for that. We're going to make sure this is truly reciprocal. Countries like Canada are panicking. They're like, holy shit, we got to start providing for ourselves now. We got to start making stuff here and make it so that we're more attractive to other countries so they could bring industry and the best minds to our country so we can make more money. Because if not, we're dead in the water. So I'm not even going to waste your time. We're going to jump right in.
Canada strong in the face of a weakened economy.
This is a great day for Canada.
Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne unveiled the Carney government's financial plan for how it says it will achieve generational change.
The speed, scope, and scale of change that we're witnessing in Canada and around the world is quite unprecedented. That's why we need a strong response.
Ottawa is spending $25 billion over 5 years on housing, billed as the most ambitious plan of its kind since the Second World War. $30 billion on defense and security, part of its commitment to meet NATO's target.
I'll try not to stop it too much, but the reason they're dedicating that much to housing is because Canada is in an extreme housing crisis, right? You think it's a joke over here? No, it's worse over there. And that's chalked up to many different reasons. And I think some of the most glaring reasons would be because they invited a whole lot of immigrants to come over and bolster the economy, because that's what they're mainly known for. And they didn't have any homes for them. They're competing with the already residents of Canada. And we're not going to get into the whole jobs market, but we might get into it a little bit because they're going to bring it up here. The sad part is that these changes are not going to be immediate. Immediate change when it comes to government is not realistic. It will never happen, as far as I know. I could be off. And Canada right now is hinging its bets on change coming, but just within the next 5 or so years.
It reads like a business document. It's all about growing. Most of it, by and large, is about growing the economy through capital investment.
Ottawa is also pledging $115 billion on infrastructure projects like hospitals, roads, and ports, and $110 billion worth of tax breaks to boost Canada's lagging productivity and competitiveness.
It probably was absolutely necessary to do because of the significant tax changes that took place in the U.S. So Canada probably couldn't afford not to make the change.
I'm gonna keep pausing. I'm so sorry, but this is so interesting. It's funny how the Canadian government has talked so much shit about the U.S. government, but because of us making major changes that we honestly needed to make, now they're getting this shit in gear. Now they're putting forth the effort and the money towards things that they probably should have been putting money towards for the longest time, because they can't rely on this anymore. Not as heavily as they used to. So just think about that for a second. The changes that we made within our own government and our own economy, whether it's good or bad, is now forcing countries to just light a fire under their ass. Because if not, they're going to suffer.
Will require bigger deficits, $78 billion this year, or 2.5% of GDP, dropping to $57 billion over the next 5 years, or 1.5% of the GDP.
It's about in line with what we were expecting at $78 billion, but obviously far from the triple-digit some we're fearing.
As the Carney government boosts spending, it's reining in its operating budget, part of the so-called sacrifices it warned were coming. It's cutting the civil service by about 10%, or 15,000 positions. There are no changes to the CPP, old age security, income, or corporate taxes. But Carney, who's vowed to build at speeds never seen before, is opening the door to lifting the emissions cap on oil and gas under certain conditions, and is also ending a luxury tax on boats and aircraft.
It costs more to administer than what we receive. And I'm a very pragmatic person.
Pay attention to how things are moving, right? They're doing that because they're trying to make Canada more attractive than the US, okay? They're trying to make it so that people that have big money, heavy pockets, look at Canada and go, you know what, they're removing all this stuff that's really stopping us from, enjoying our time over there, taxes on private planes and boats. I mean, shit, I might just sail my boat over there a little bit, see what's going on. That's why they're doing that. And I could be wrong. Let me know down in the comments below. And the Canadians down there, let me know. I'm not trying to disrespect y'all, what y'all got going on. I will talk shit, but I just want to make sure that, maybe I'm on the right track. Help me understand. But that's the way I'm seeing it. That's the way I'm interpreting it. Within our own country in the US, we talk so much shit about the things that we're doing to make ourselves more attractive, to bring more power and money here. And then when other countries do it, it's like, oh, well, they have to do this. They have to support themselves. It's like, you can't tell me it's wrong over here, but it's right over here. Come on now. You got to be real.
The Carney government is proposing more cuts to immigration and is letting Trudeau-era programs lapse, like a pledge to plant 2 billion trees. A possible attempt to distance himself from his predecessor's legacy, which could be a possible liability if the Liberals can't find opposition MPs to support the budget and wind up headed towards a Christmas election. Taria Isri, Global News, Ottawa.
We'll jump into another video. There's a lot of key points that I want to hit on and I guess discuss.
Today, the Liberals have introduced the most costly and largest budget deficit in history outside of COVID. The cost of this Liberal budget will drive up the cost of food, housing, and everything else that Canadians buy. And the Prime Minister has broken every single promise he made just 7 short months ago. He promised a $62 billion deficit. He delivered nearly an $80 billion deficit, $16 billion bigger than he promised and twice the size that his predecessor left behind. He promised to lower the debt to GDP ratio. He raised it, and inflation along with it. He promised to spend less. He's spending $90 billion more, costing $5,400 per family in Canada. And that $90 billion, to the Prime Minister's heckles, is above and beyond the promised $16 billion that he says he will one day find. And if he doesn't find them, it will be over $100 billion in brand new spending to respond to the Prime Minister's heckles, Mr. Speaker. He also promised that he would invest more. His own budget document lays out a graph showing that every quarter of this year will see private sector business investment collapse. This costly budget forces Canadians to spend more on debt interest than on healthcare transfers. More than the government collects in GST. That means every dollar the Canadians pay in GST will go to bankers and bondholders instead of to doctors and nurses.
That sound familiar to you? No? It doesn't? Come on now. It sounds familiar. It sounds familiar to me. It's so interesting to see other countries go through their own political strife and realize, wow, it sucks everywhere. Still, it's just crazy having the same issues with healthcare, giving money to big businesses and banks and everything like that. Promises made, not kept. It's interesting, and I don't know. Like, I'm gonna pay attention way more, especially when it comes to Canada, because there's a lot going on.
All while he raises the industrial carbon tax on farm equipment and fertilizer, and therefore food, on steel, concrete, and other industrial projects needed to build homes, a big tax increases on homes and food. And on behalf of all the Canadians who can no longer afford to eat, heat, or house themselves because of Liberal inflation, we Conservatives cannot support this costly Liberal budget.
Is this an austerity budget?
It's hard to tell at this point. What I'll say is it's got a very large deficit. Spending is up in many ways. There are, some record investments, but it also is, cutting public services that Canadians need. There's complex issues that are facing us, and I don't think that we can oversimplify whether policies are going to respond or not. So I'll tell you a few things that we like about the budget. There's $51 billion in infrastructure spending, and that's linked to unionized jobs or community benefit agreements, which requires that work to be done through wage prevailing rates. So that could create good family-sustaining jobs, which has been a priority for the NDP. On the negative side, you have 40,000 public sector job cuts. And when you have a jobs crisis, cutting union, family-sustaining, good jobs is the opposite direction of where we want to go. And we have to remember, behind every job is a service. Do Canadians really want to wait 6 months to get a passport? You want to wait 3 months to get a call back from CRA? The seniors want to wait to get their old age security checks. These are the kind of real-life consequences of cutting public sector workers there are.
I looked over, cause I saw like other news conferences where they were pretty much discussing as well. Yeah, they want to cut 40,000 jobs, but not immediately, over the course of 5 years. How that's going to shake out, I mean, obviously from a numbers perspective, 8,000 jobs every year, but you know what I'm saying, how's that really going to shake out? Not entirely too sure. It's interesting because similar to what's going on over here in the US, they're talking about, you know, cutting to save money, everything like that. And one of the first things, not first things, but one of the things that they jump to are union jobs. So it makes you wonder, is this really going to have such an impact like he's stating? Or is this really just going to save money for the government because these jobs are jobs that honestly weren't needed in the first place? They were just there. Below. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. There's no way that we can, as Greens, vote yes on this budget. But I want to emphasize there are several days in which this budget can be negotiated and amended before it goes to a vote. And that's something that doesn't get discussed much. I am surprised that Mr. Carney has not reached out, or that more of his ministers haven't reached out to say, what would it take to get Greens to vote for this budget? In the same way I hear from friends in the New Democratic Party, they haven't felt that there's been an effort to get us on side early on. So we are now in a position where I think every vote's going to matter, every vote's going to count, and I would invite the Prime Minister, and I've sent this message through the officials who were with us in the lockup, please let them know I'd like to talk, because there's some things that could be done that would make it possible for us to vote for this budget.
It sounds like you're leaning toward voting no on this budget. Can you explain why?
You have a very good perspective on things. Where did you get that?
Just listening.
I hardly see how, after having met with our caucus tonight, we could vote in favor of this budget. Those $78 billion deficit, whatever tricks they want to invent, there's nothing of what we did ask in the budget. And I must tell you that what the Bloc Québécois asked in order to maybe support the budget about elders, about healthcare transfers, about what we did ask, but one thing that was not given to Quebecers and given to everybody else would have been good for all Canadians, not only Quebecers. Still, the answer is no. This is a red conservative budget, which Mr. Harper might have signed. And there's nothing for Quebecers in there, absolutely nothing. We did ask what was basically the object of a large consensus with the population of Quebec. And the answer from a Quebecer, Mr. Champagne, is blunt. No.
Do you know if the Liberals are trying to approach anyone from your party to cross the floor?
I'd be quite surprised. We are about as close to Liberals as Quebec is from New Zealand.
That's pretty far. But I let that play out because I really wanted to see for myself and then show you guys as well how, this shit is the same exact thing. They having budget issues over there too. Will it lead to a government shutdown? I don't think the government really works like that. I do a lot more research because even with the political parties, they seem to have a lot of political parties are just, I guess, deviations when it comes to how they organize themselves and everything like that. So that's something I'm definitely going to be reading more into because I'm interested to see what I can uncover that could be similar and dissimilar from the US. So don't worry, we're going to dive headfirst into it. We're going to see what's going on. Well, that's it for this video, guys. You already know the drill. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, comment down below, tell me your thoughts. The very few Canadians that do watch me, let me know what's going on. Give me a little bit of a breakdown. I'm gonna do my own research as well and see what's happening, but I'm interested, are you guys okay over there? What's going on? It seems like you guys are having the same issues that we're having, albeit not as bad, or maybe I'm just not getting the full gist of it. So comment down below, let me know. That's gonna be it for now. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.